Hello, reading room. We are here on day, 12 of our book, Letting Anna Go, which I have to put in there in the description now. I hesitated, but the story about the reasons why somebody becomes anorexic, or the story behind why somebody has an eating disorder, right? All the reasons why somebody might have an eating disorder. Sunday, October 21st. Wait, don't know. Now remember, Friday, October 19th, Saturday was the big day. Tomorrow, no Saturday entry. So Sunday, October 21st, wait, don't know. The look on Jack's face when he picked me up for the dance was priceless. Dad had stopped by to take pictures too. He and Mom have been talking again since they saw each other at the hospital after that race where I went down. Anyway, Jack was in mid-sentence joking around with Dad when he saw me, his voice trailed off and he just stared. I'd practiced walking down the stairs 4 or 5 times before he got there so I wouldn't trip on the dress or break my ankle in the heels. I felt like a model, a superstar. I took his breath away. This wasn't the only time it happened that night. The limo was so long we could have fit 12 people in it. Rob somehow managed to sneak a bottle of champagne under his jacket, and Jack had another one stashed under the seat. Everyone but Vanessa had a glass on the way to school, but thankfully she didn't make a big deal out of it. She did roll her eyes when Jeff poured a second glass for himself. But who can blame him? He probably needed a third glass just to deal with her attitude. The driver dropped us off at the door, and Rob and Jack agreed on a time when he should come back to pick us up. When we got out of the car, I wobbled just a little, then giggled. The bubbles and sugar had gone straight to my head. Jack offered me his arm and was the perfect gentleman for the entire dance. He never left my side for a second. We turned heads everywhere we walked, and girls who had never spoken to me in the halls for the past 2 years stopped me to tell me how beautiful my dress was. We danced for hours, and I was amazed that my feet didn't hurt in these heels. I guess you get what you pay for. I got dizzy after a couple hours, but I decided it must just be the champagne, and besides, I had the best-looking day at the dance, even if Rob was named Homecoming King. After a while, the band slowed things down, and I just leaned into Jack while we danced. I could feel him pressing up against me, and his breath on my ear sent goosebumps running down my arm. Are you cold? No, you just do that to me. Do you have any idea what you're doing to me tonight in that dress? I think I can feel what I'm doing to you. Just a little? It's not so little. He winked at me and smirked, but he was blushing hard. Not long after that, Rob declared that it was time to hit the after party. One of the friends on the soccer team had rented a room at an old hotel that used to be the estate of a movie star. Now it was a resort with 3 swimming pools and lush grounds where you could lie in a hammock or play a game of croquet, all with a view of the mountains. Jeff and Rob broke open the second bottle of champagne, and Jack and I shared another glass while Rob told the driver he needed a burger. We wound up taking the limo into the drive-thru. My head was so buzzy from the champagne, and I got really hungry all of a sudden. Not just hungry, ravenous. Jack asked me if I wanted anything, and I opened my mouth to tell him yes. But Jill caught my eye and gave me a look. I'll just have a couple of your fries. You sure? Yeah, I'm good. Jill looked at me across the limo and mouthed the word, "Stay strong." I smiled at her as Jack ordered and mouthed back, "Thank you." I should have eaten those fries. I wish I had ordered a whole value meal and a chocolate milkshake for myself. If I had, I wouldn't be writing this from a hospital bed on the 13th floor. I still can't remember exactly what happened. I remember pulling up to the high front wall of the hotel. I remember the valets in salmon-colored pants opening the limo. I remember Jack stepping out of the car, then turning back to offer me his hand. I remember stepping out of the car and the breeze on my cheek. I remember turning toward the tall orange doors of the hotel lobby and walking through them on Jack's arm. The entire hotel has been designed into this retro 1960s glamour puss style, and there are 2 suits of armor guarding the bathroom doors by the front desk. I remember thinking that Jack was my knight in shining armor, and I was about to tell him as we walked by the mod round fire pit by the back door, but the next thing I knew, I was lying on a couch by the door and everyone was on their phones except Jack. "Hey babe, are you with me? Can you hear me?" I tried to sit up, and he gently took my hand and laid me back down. I'm right here. I'm not going anywhere. I'm fine. My dad is on his way. When he said that, I got scared. If parents were involved, this was not going to be the night I had wanted. I'm not sure why I yelled at Jack. I think it was because I was scared. Me, why do you do that? God. I pushed myself up on the couch. I tried to stand up but fell forward. I slipped through Jack's arms and hit my chin on the coffee table next to the couch. Blood was everywhere. Vanessa screamed. Jill ran between the two suits of armor and came back with paper towels. The hotel manager was there asking if I was drunk, and at that moment Jack's dad walked in. I don't remember what he said to Jeff or Rob or Jill or Vanessa. I don't remember how he talked the hotel manager out of calling the police. All I remember is Jack holding me and crying. Jack held me in the back seat of Dad's car all the way to the hospital. When we walked through the doors of the ER, every single head in the waiting room turned to stare, and I realized we were still wearing formal clothes. Jack slid off his tux jacket and draped it over my shoulders. At that moment, Mom came through the doors from the parking lot into the waiting area. She stopped short at the sight of us standing there, me with blood pooling in a paper towel at my chin. She held up a finger to James, then disappeared through the double doors into the emergency room. James turned back to Jack and me. He had the kindest smile. Everything's going to be okay. Me, everything's fine now. I don't think this cut is bad. James nodded, and Jack held onto my shoulders as an orderly came back with my mom and a wheelchair and Dr. Nash. Me, I don't need that wheelchair. Sweetheart, don't make this any worse than it is. I turned to look at Jack. His eyes were red and glossy from tears, but he smiled and said one word, please. Something about that word made me feel so tired, like I could fall asleep standing up. I nodded at him and let him help me into the wheelchair. He got down on his knees in front of me and said 3 words, I love you. Then the orderly handed him his jacket and wheeled me away. I passed out one more time after they got me onto a gurney in the back and started an IV. When I came to, Dr. Nash was talking to my mom. Ooh, there's the water plane. You didn't catch it. Dehydrated, overexercise. Her body is in a famine mode. Drastically restricted fats to the point that her liver is shutting down. 13th floor. When I woke up this morning, Mom was sitting in my room. I tried to reach up and wipe the sleep out of my eyes, but I felt something tighten around my wrist. I looked down and saw restraints. I looked at Mom. She was crying. What the hell, Mom? Why am I tied up like a crazy person? Oh, honey, you keep waking up and trying to pull the IV out of your arm. What is in this IV? It's fluids and nutrients. I knew what that meant. It meant they were pumping me full of sugar water. I couldn't help myself. I started shouting. You are pumping me full of calories. Of course I want to pull it out. You tell them to take it out of my arm this second. Don't you see what you're doing? I'm going to get fat just lying here. Is that what you want? Is that what... It is what you want, isn't it? You want me to be fat and miserable just like you. I was out of breath and Mom was sobbing, saying no and oh honey over and over again. She stood up and I saw saw she had something in her hands. It was a mirror. She held it up to my face. I closed my eyes and turned my head away. No, I don't want to see how fat I'm getting. I don't want to see what sugar you're pumping me full of has already done to my face. She cried, but she wouldn't go away and she wouldn't move the mirror. Finally, I turned to look. Can't you see it? Your hair is getting thin and breaking off. Your cheeks are so hollow. Your eyes don't shine anymore. Your skin is gray. Where is she? Look in this mirror and find my sweet girl. Oh. Where did she go? You're starving her to death. I just couldn't imagine as a mom. Okay. As I looked in the mirror, I realized I didn't know when the last time was I'd actually looked myself in the eyes. I was always too busy looking at my body, checking for places that should be flatter or more toned. My eyes seemed dull and gray. Hadn't they been blue once? I stared until I didn't recognize myself anymore. The only way I knew it was me I was looking at was when I saw the tears start to fall, and I felt them hot and wet, trickling down my cheeks. Tuesday, October 23rd, weight 112. They released me this morning. Mom's insurance won't allow me to stay there for longer than 72 hours without being sent to long-term treatment. Oh, there it is. See? Okay. Dr. Nash said if I don't start eating again, she'll make sure I get locked up for 28 days. I hate her. I went to text Jack and tell him I'm okay. I want to tell Jill to text Jill and ask her what I should do next. Mom won't let me have my phone back yet. I hate her too. Wednesday, October 24th, weight 113. This is a nightmare. Mom still wouldn't let me go to school today. She's taken some vacation days from work too. Jack stopped by after soccer practice today. He brought me flowers, gerbera daisies, red this time. Mom invited him in and called me downstairs. Was it only 5 days ago I walked down the stairs to meet him and felt like a movie star? When I saw it was him, I wanted to run back up to my room. I stopped on the stairs for a second. Everybody just waited. I was staring at my feet and then I started to cry. I didn't want him to see me like this. I guess I know in my head somewhere that I'm not really fat, but I feel so fat and ugly right now. I have stitches in my chin. I've been pumped full of crap at the hospital. Jack sent the flowers on the island and set the flowers on the island and walked up the steps toward me. Mom followed him and stood at the foot of the stairs in the living room. He wrapped his arms around me like I was fragile and I might break in two if he squeezed me too hard. Something about being close to him made me feel safe, and I leaned into the soft skin of his neck and just cried. What is it, babe? I don't want you to see me like this. You look amazing to me. I haven't seen you since Saturday night. That's way too long. I've been jonesing. How does he know how to say the right thing for every time? He turned to my mom. Do you think it'd be okay if we took a walk down to the park? It would be totally fine, but we have to leave in about 20 minutes to get to the doctor. What? What doctor? I made an appointment for us. For us? It's okay, babe. I'll come back tomorrow. He kissed me on the forehead and left before I could stop him or figure out from Mom where this appointment was. Turns out Mom has booked us with a shrink. I'm so pissed off right now I can barely hold the pen. I shouldn't be going to see a therapist. I should be going to school. I should be walking down the street right now with my boyfriend holding his hand, hearing about his day. I told Mom she was ruining my life. She told me if I don't go with her, I wasn't going back to school. I'll do anything to not have to sit at home with her all day. Later. The car ride to the therapist's office was complete silence. Mom tried to talk, but then gave up, thank God. Of course, once we were at Dr. Crane's office, she let the floodgates open, and it all gushed out. Dr. Crane is this little bald guy who is probably in his 40s. He has a nice smile and bright eyes, and he was really friendly. I think he might be gay. He's in remarkably good shape and wears very cool glasses. The lenses are rectangular and sort of disappear because they're frameless. I kept staring at his glasses, sort of blurring my eyes a little, seeing if I could make out the lenses at all, while Mom cried her eyes out about how scared she was, how upset she felt that she couldn't stop me, how angry she was that I didn't see what I was doing to myself and to her and to my dad. Dr. Crane, how do you feel about that? Me, how do I feel about what? Dr. Crane, all of those things your mother just said. Me, I feel like I don't want to be here right now. I feel like I don't want to talk about this. It's none of anyone else's business. Dr. Crane gave me a little friendly, bright-eyed smile. Then he asked my mom if she would mind stepping out so he could have some time with me alone. Hold on one second. back into the deep cushions of the couch, and Dr. Crane asked if I wanted any water or anything. I told him no. Is there anything you want to tell me that you'd rather your mom not hear? No. Do you trust me? I've actually watched television before in my life, so yes, I am familiar with the idea that psychologists are generally trustworthy. It surprised me when he laughed. You're funny. I bet you think I'm skinny too. I don't really care what you weigh. You're the only one then. The rest of us just can't get enough. The rest of us just can't get enough of it. Who is this friend Jill your mom talked about? She talked about Jill? Yeah. You were sort of staring at me during that part. I wasn't sure if you were actually listening or not. Yeah, I wasn't. I was checking out your glasses. They're really cool. Thank you. Jill's my friend. Your mom is pretty upset. She just told me that she wishes she'd never let you hang out with Jill. Jill isn't making me do this. Do what? Count calories, lose weight. Does Jill do those things too? Yes. But it's not your disease that makes her your friend? My disease? Dr. Crane looked at me with eyes full of concern. It made me angry. I don't have a disease. I have willpower. Dr. Crane flipped open a chart on the little glass table next to his chair. What you have is a liver that is shutting down, signs of scalp hair loss, elevated levels of serum sodium, potassium chloride, and carbon dioxide from continued dehydration, muscle wasting, and no regular period for months. Those are not signs of willpower. Those are symptoms of a disease called anorexia. He said all this softly and gently and then held my gaze as I sat there blinking at him. Is anorexia what makes Jill your friend? No, of course not. I'm not sure if she'll even want to be my friend anymore after this. Why wouldn't she? She's got to do what's best for her. She's got to stay thin so she can be best at ballet. So she can be the best at ballet she can possibly be. What other friends do you have? Your mother didn't mention anyone else by name. I thought about telling him about Vanessa and Jeff and Rob and especially Jack. None of those names left my lips, though. When I opened my mouth, I didn't recognize my own voice. I feel like I am my best friend. When I'm able to get through a meal without eating too much, there is this thing I feel inside of me, this strength. It's like a place of power. And when I don't eat too much or when I exercise enough, it makes me feel invincible. It keeps me company. Dr. Crane, your disease has become your best friend. When he said those words, I couldn't speak anymore. I just looked at him, nodded, and cried. Wednesday, November 7th, wait, 119. It's weird how 2 weeks can seem like 2 years. My life has been a completely different place since that night at homecoming. I've been seeing Dr. Crane 3 times each week. He runs an outpatient program for people with eating disorders at the hospital where Mom works. I go 3 days each week after school, Mondays, Tuesdays, and Thursdays. On Tuesdays, I see Dr. Crane one-on-one, and on Mondays and Thursdays, it's a group therapy session. Dr. Crane leads the conversation with 7 or 8 other girls. Most of us are in high school. Most of us are anorexic. A couple of the girls are bulimic and do a lot of binging and purging. A girl named Amy talked about eating a whole box of cupcakes, then making herself throw up. Just hearing her talk about it made me feel sick to my stomach. This girl named Kim, who is a senior in Jack and Rob's class at school, is in the group. I was shocked to see somebody I knew there, especially her. She's a cheerleader and has big boobs, and what Jill likes to call an athletic spread, which means her butt and thighs are full and curvy. She doesn't look like she's missed a meal in quite a while. Today I found out that that's because she hasn't. She's been what she calls recovered for 3 years. Dr. Crane usually starts the group off with a topic. Today was about what we see when we look in the mirror. He calls it body image. When it was Kim's turn, she said that she knows she needs to be careful when she gets too caught up in the mirror. She said that's when she knows her vision can start doing funky things. Kim, sometimes I catch myself staring at something in the mirror besides my eyes, and I know that's a trigger for me. I have to remind myself that I don't always see what's actually in the mirror. Dr. Crane, can you tell us a little bit more about that? What does it feel like? Well, it used to be that I weighed about 98 pounds, which meant for my height I was almost 25 pounds underweight. But I'd look in the mirror and see fat hanging over my waistband. I'd convince myself I had a muffin top or that my thighs were too big under my cheerleading skirt. Dr. Crane asked if anybody else had experienced this. Everybody in the circle raised a hand, except me at first. When I saw everybody else's hand in the air, I sighed and pulled mine up too. Dr. Crane smiled his little smile at me. Afterward, Kim came up to say hi. I'm glad you're here. I can't say that I am. It gets better, I promise. I can't believe you aren't scared all the time. Scared of what? Me, of becoming one of those girls that can't control how much she eats. Kim smiled at me, a sad smile, almost like she could see something about me that I couldn't. Just keep coming to group. It gets easier. She gave me her cell phone number and I typed it into my contacts, but I can't imagine actually talking to her about anything. When I think about Kim and her big boobs and the way her thighs touch when she walks, I get this sick feeling in the pit of my stomach. I have to take deep breaths so I don't gag. She just seems revolting to me. I've gained 3 pounds each week since I got out of the hospital. Dr. Nash says I'm still 15 pounds under my goal weight. I have a checkup with her once a week, too. I told her I couldn't eat any more than I was. Dr. Nash, you can. It'll just take time for your body to readjust. You'll know you're back on track when you get your period again. Should be in the next 7 to 10 pounds. The idea of weighing 10 pounds more totally freaks me out. Why does it freak you out? I don't want to be ugly. What if you were more beautiful because you were at a healthy weight, not less? But I won't be. Jack is always saying how perfect I look. Have you seen Jack lately? Since you put back on 6 pounds? Yeah. When? He came over for dinner last night. Did he act any differently around you? I thought about this for a minute. Mom had made us spaghetti and meatballs. I only ate a little bit of pasta, but I had 3 meatballs and a slice of French bread with garlic butter on it. Jack had laughed and joked and slurped noodles in this way that made me giggle. After dinner, we hung out on the sectional in the living room, reading our books for English class. He's halfway through A Tale of Two Cities, and I'm finishing up Little Women. He didn't seem any different at all. In fact, he was actually smiling more than usual. Dr. Crane smiled when I told him this. Jack loves you. Your mom loves you. Let them love you while you learn how to love yourself. But what if Jack stops? What if he leaves? I nodded. People break up sometimes. Even when they're married, like your mom and dad. It happens all the time. You can't control that by controlling what you eat. I can't promise you Jack won't leave. I can promise you he won't leave because you weren't thin or beautiful enough. Sunday, November 11th. Wait, 121. Jeff and Vanessa came over tonight with Jack, and I invited Jill too, but she's been in rehearsals for the Nutcracker every waking moment she's not at school. I want to believe that's why I haven't been hearing from her as much and why she's been so quiet at school, but I know it's because I've been eating more again. I feel like I've lost 2 friends in a way, restricting my calories and Jill. It used to be that we were friends for lots of reasons. Now it seems like we were only friends for one reason. Kim was talking about that at group on Thursday, and it makes a lot of sense to me. Jeff and Jack insisted on ordering pizza with jalapenos on it, so Vanessa and I got one with just Canadian bacon and pineapple on it. Jeff and Jack got into a pepper eating contest to see who could have right now. She's reading a book while I write. I feel really close to her now, like being honest was a good thing. She told me that we'd keep the scale in front of the bathroom as long as I was eating. We'd weigh in every day. It feels weird to bring someone else into the bathroom with me to weigh myself, but Dr. Crane has been talking about that in our sessions. He thinks it's one more way I can ask for help, that I can admit I am not in control of my food. He's been helping me see how it's the other way around, that food has actually been in control of me. Okay, well, I think that is good for today. We start tomorrow with Wednesday, November 14th. Weight 122. This is Dr. Annette Feravich. We are here in the reading room. We are reading the book Letting Anna Go. It is by an anonymous writer, and it is really, really good. It really is a book for many ages, even younger people, middle-aged for sure. All right, thanks for joining me here in the classroom. I'll be back tomorrow at 8:30. Come and join me in the early bird classroom, where we have Discovery Thursdays. We will be doing science tomorrow, and we're going to be talking about what a controlled experiment is. All right, thanks for joining me.